At Subway, start your day the flavorful way by adding new guacamole to your favorite breakfast sandwich. Perfectly made with a hint of jalapeno, our guacamole turns up the flavor to your breakfast. Try it today on a hot and toasty egg, white, and cheese. Subway, eat fresh.
The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The BS Report. The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, part 2 of the Over Under podcast with Joe House. It's now a sunny day here in Southern California. That's how much time has passed since we did the East. The East, if you missed it, our two locks were Indiana under 33.5 and Detroit over 36. But check out that podcast if you want to hear our thoughts. Now, the much more interesting Western Conference. The West is good.
The West is great.
10 good teams in the West.
Got to pour a little bit out for KD's foot. It's a little bit heartbreaking to not have him at full tilt for a full season with all of the other intrigue that is associated with the West this year.
You know what else is heartbreaking? When you have all the expiring contracts and 2 first-round picks and money to spend, and your team made over $30 million last year, and you didn't do anything in the summer to have any sort of backup plan in case Westbrook or Durant got hurt. That would also be heartbreaking if I was a fan of that team.
Feel like you're picking on them. The OKCs think that you don't care about them. You don't care for them.
No, I do care for them.
The OKCs.
That's crap because I've been to OKC. Their fans are awesome. I really like the people there. And I think, unfortunately for them, they're so grateful to have that team that they're just letting their owners just kind of run rampant. And I've written about this. You have a window with NBA contention, and that team has not taken advantage of that window. And at some point in my life, the OKC fans are going to send me emails saying, I can't believe we didn't listen to you. And the big picture for me is you have Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook on your team. Yep. You have Serge Ibaka on your team. You played Derek Fisher as the fifth banana in the biggest playoff games of your season last year. And I would have thought they would have tried to upgrade that. I would have thought that would have been a priority. Am I wrong to think that?
You don't like Anthony Morrow? That's not an upgrade for you?
No, I don't. I don't like Anthony Morrow. I like him if he's your 10th man.
All right.
I don't like
Well, we'll get to them soon enough.
Okay, we'll get to them. We'll go in alphabetical order. The Dallas Mavericks are first at 50.5. I don't know why. I think I like a lot of overs of the West. I like the over for this. I just think they're going to be good. I like Carlisle. I think they're going to figure out how to use Chandler Parsons better than how Houston figured him out. I think he has more talents than we saw in Houston, where they just basically just had him as a spot-up guy. And they also have the chance to get better and improve the team potentially with one more trade. I'm going over. What do you think?
I don't just like the over. I love the Dallas over. I love over 50.5 games. Do you realize that last season they won 49 games? This team, all we're asking for is for them to win 2 more games. Can Dallas do that with this array of I'm channeling my inner, Skip.
I liked it.
I love this Dallas arrangement. I love Tyson Chandler back. In a way, this feels to me like Mark Cuban apologizing for not bringing back the title team, the championship team from 2 years ago. This is him saying, I whiffed.
Yeah, apology accepted, Mark Cuban, because I know that you and I both killed him on the podcast for that. You always bring back the champs. You do whatever you can to bring back the champs.
Yeah, his explanation and articulation for why he couldn't afford to do it was because the new collective bargaining agreement was going to be so punitive, and that there was just so fewer escape hatches in the new collective bargaining agreement. He couldn't do it responsibly, and that explanation was blown out of the water many times over by the assembly of teams, what teams like Golden State did, where they managed to take great big, huge albatross contracts and move them and bring in championship caliber players like Andre Iguodala. And, there were a couple other examples in the past couple of years where the collective bargaining agreement showed much more flexibility than Cuban intimated. And on top of that, the salary cap is going through the roof, and I bet he had a perspective on what direction salary cap was going to be headed when they came out of the lockout a couple of years ago. So anyway, Dallas over. I love it.
Kudos to Cubes, assembled a 2011 title team that beat LeBron and Wade in their primes. So you can live off the
Capital
fumes
K,
of that.
kudos.
Huh?
I say capital K. Capital K, kudos.
You can breathe the fumes of those kudos for 25 years. Not everyone gets to win the title. But kind of whiffed on keeping that team together and misread where the salary cap was going and where the economy was going with the NBA. He then reversed course again and structured a great Chandler Parsons contract that he just played poker with Daryl and guessed Daryl wouldn't match that contract. He was right. Now he has Chandler Parsons on his team. He was able to package a bunch of crap to get Tyson Chandler, who was in a contract year. And I just like the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jameer Nelson signing, sneaky great. I mean, I looked around the league. There are a bunch of teams that could use Jameer as a backup point guard.
Him and Devin Harris, not terrible.
Yeah, well, and Felton, in the correct role with the right coach and the right kind of mature organization around him, can be at least a guy that doesn't take stuff off the table, right?
It's interesting. Dallas and Sacramento, two, I would say, forward-thinking teams, or teams that try to be. Both of them obviously decided that point guard was an inefficiency in the NBA because it was basically a supply and demand thing. Both teams felt like there were more available point guards than point guard spots. So why pay a lot of money for a point guard when you could just patch together a couple guys on cheap, small contracts that you could either flip or just get out of after a year, patch those guys together, and you're better off doing that than paying some point guard $12 million a year is not an all-star. I actually agree with that theory.
Mm-hmm.
So Sacramento they let go Isaiah Thomas and did Darren Collison and Raymond Sessions. I did not agree with those two choices. I would have gone with
I didn't
DJ
like them either.
I would have gone with DJ Augustine and Raymond Sessions.
Sure.
And then Dallas just went patchwork by committee, Jameer Nelson, Devin Harris, Raymond Felton, and just give them for a test drive. If you don't like them, package them together, try to get somebody else. I liked it. I thought it was smart.
Me too.
Nugs, 42.5. Calling them the Nugs this year.
So do you realize they had 3 ACLs last year?
Yeah. Triple ACL.
The triple, that's you don't get a lot of that in the NBA. That's
They
a lot of ACL.
They botched the Gallinari thing. They let Gallinari approve some. I forget what the whole basics of that story was, but it led to him missing a season and a half instead of a season, which I'm going to say was handled incorrectly.
They for whatever reason, I'd not heard of this before. There apparently is a way for an ACL to repair itself.
Right.
And so they waited on the surgery to see if it would heal itself, and it didn't.
Yeah, great theory. That sounds like, hey, my kid's really sick. Well, I went to a hospital where they don't have medication. They hope for natural healing of the sickness. Oh, great. Okay, let's try that. Like, you can't mess around with an ACL. How about this? Just fix the ACL the way the other teams fix it. There's a theory.
Seem like that would have been the best course of action.
Stupid. So the Nugs have a couple of things going for them. I'm calling them the Nugs, by the way, because that's what my son referred to his testicles as once, and I loved it.
Oh, goodness. What? You think the people of Denver like that association? Their team and your
so
child's
stoned, they don't care. They don't even know where they are right now.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Denver's the greatest place in the world now. Everyone's just peaceful and happy and kind of walking around like a zombie. It's awesome. Nugs 42.5. I think the conference is too tough. And 43-39 seems ambitious for these guys. I'm going under.
That's interesting. So they won 36 last year, and to take the over, you have to have 7 more wins. Ty Lawson missed 20 games last year. They were right around a 500 team when he played, and they went like 7-13 or something bad when he didn't play. So
they added a Flalo.
They added a Flalo. and you have Gallinari back for a whole year. So are they around a 500 team in the tough West with teams like OKC, taking a temporary step backwards? They're going to steal some wins at the beginning of the season. They continue to have the all-time greatest home court advantage. Brian Shaw gets that. They want to play that style. I am going to take the under.
Okay.
By half game. I think they're going to win 42 games, which is still a market improvement over last season, but not enough to get me to take the over.
I think they're going to win much less than that because here's the factor you forgot. You have these teams that are like 10th, 11th, 12th, whatever in a conference, and there hits a point in mid-March where they realize they're not going to make the playoffs, and that would actually be better for them to get the 6th pick in the draft instead of the 13th or however it works out. And all of a sudden, guys who have little nagging injuries start sitting. And that guy who needs surgery on his hand that he's been playing with, now he's going to have the surgery, and that kind of stuff happens. I see that. I see it being that kind of season where they're under 500, but barely, but they're kind of hanging around, but not really. And then all of a sudden, like a lot like what's happened in Minnesota a couple of times.
In some ways, it feels a little disrespectful, though. Fareed was awesome in the FIBA World Cup.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of vets. Now, I don't know which way this cuts. Wilson Chandler's still on this basketball team. Randy Foy's still on this basketball team. Nate Robinson's still on this basketball team. J.J. Hickson's still on this basketball team.
You're listing all players that are lottery guys.
The enigmatic JaVale McGee is still on this basketball team.
Lottery.
But those are all, that's your bench.
They don't have any big guys. They have too many guys, which is another issue. They have too many guys who are going to want to play. The one thing they did that I really liked was that Aflalo trade.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Evan Fournier. What the hell was that trade? And we, Chen and I are in this crazy salary cap basketball league, and he was intrigued by Evan Fournier because of his salary. So I did a quick Google recon of him, and apparently he bombed the preseason in Orlando. Now, Aaron Aflalo is not an all-star, but at least you know what he is. He's an above-average two-guard who's really is a solid defender, and he makes threes. Like, that guy's a professional basketball player.
For sure. All those
I didn't like that trade.
Like him on this Denver team. I almost want to go over. I'm going to stick with my under, but it's right at 42 for me.
It's hard to believe OKC didn't step in on Aaron Aflalo.
That would have been a good one for them, right? That would have been an upgrade from Cephalosha.
Hard to believe they couldn't have trumped the Evan Fournier offer that Orlando was dangling. I mean, that Denver was dangling. Couldn't have trumped Evan Fournier? Would you rather have Andre Roberson or Aaron Aflalo in a playoff game? Just curious.
Well, I mean, you forget the playoff game. How about game one?
Yeah.
That you're starting small forward. I mean, power forward.
I'm going under only because of the conference. I think if they're in the East, you could talk me into over potentially. They're in that, they're certainly have more talent than the Knicks, put it that way.
In the East, they're like a 46, 47.
Yeah, right, settle down. Have a glass of water. The Warriors, 51 and a half.
Another one.
Ver.
Yeah, it's amazing. It feels like when we talked about a little bit about them over the weekend, it felt like a misprint. They won 51 games last year.
Yeah.
Do I think they're going to be one game better with Steve Kerr as the coach?
Healthy Bogut,
yes,
Steve Kerr. Yeah, Sean Livingston. Huge. Right. Sean Livingston was I know he's hurt right now, but that's somebody that gives them flexibility that they didn't have last year. Now you can play Curry off the ball. You can go 3-guard. You can do a whole bunch of stuff that you did not have that option last year. And
totally agree. The bizarre thing with them is when I watched them last year, the Washingtons beat them because of what looked to me like defensive sort of effort, like an aimlessness defensively. They were a pretty darn good defensive team. Their problem was middle of the road offensive efficiency, and it's kind of stunning to think about all the weapons they have and conclude that the middle of the pack offensively is egregious for this group. They're going to be better on offense this year.
Yeah, and you know what else? They didn't have, Bogut was hurt in that Clipper series. And they still almost won.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
they almost won with Jermaine O'Neal playing big minutes. And David Lee is their rim protector. I mean, they still almost beat the Clippers. Now the Clippers have
they're
their own
right
set of stuff going on. I know this. I very rarely go all in on something like this, and I really feel strongly about this. I think Steve Kerr is going to be a great coach. I've known him for a long time. Had great basketball conversations with him. I'm not doing the thing where it's the media protecting somebody who's now in the limelight. Like I genuinely believe this guy has put a ton of thought into how to coach a team, was waiting for the perfect team to coach, was waiting for the perfect season to do it. He also, unlike Derek Fisher, he ran Phoenix. He was in an authority position with a team that they ended up doing really well and almost made the finals. Watch what Alvin Gentry went through with that team. And he's been on some great basketball teams. He learned from Phil Jackson and Greg Popovich. And I just think if anyone has the sense of how to coach a team, when the team's starting to drift, when a team's not being tough enough, when the work ethic isn't quite there yet, that guy knows all that stuff. He got a PhD twice in all of that stuff, and I think he's going to be a great coach.
I'm all in on Steve Kerr for every single reason you just mentioned. It's a rare thing to see a guy come from the front office down to the bench. You don't, that's not the typical trajectory. And I think that it gives him such a head start in terms of just the basic communication framework, in terms of his ability to kind of navigate upwards and downwards with his team, the players, what they're kind of capable of, their skill sets, what he has in mind, and managing, expectations and looking for, opportunities to improve the team upwards with management. He's just got a very unique skill set, and I love Golden State this year.
My fear with them, just from can they get to the mid-50s and stuff like that, is they don't have the alpha dog that you ride day in, day out, like in the dregs of February or fourth game in 5 nights. Who's the guy in that team who's like, hey, guys, we're winning this game. We're not rolling over, or we're not rolling over to, Indiana at home in February when we're favored by 13. Like, the season's a grind. And Mark Jackson, in a lot of ways, actually was the team's alpha dog last season. They don't really have the true alpha dog. They have an alpha dog score, all this stuff. So I think Kerr's going to actually, in a weird way, have to be their kind of behind the scenes alpha dog, right? He's going to have to be the one that gets them fired up.
Why can't Steph and Clay kind of combine? I mean, they were very complimentary in the FIBA Cup.
Clay Thompson is not wired like that. Like, just let that thought go. Steph Curry, I don't know. I think he's a leader in a sense, like he's getting hot. He galvanizes the team. I don't know if he's a behind-the-scenes leader like that, but I will tell you this, because I've heard from a couple different people around that team that I think last year was a lot. We knew it was dysfunctional because 2 coaches quit and the coach and the owners weren't talking, all that stuff. But I think it was even way more dysfunctional than we thought.
Oh, insider scoop coming from Simmons. I love it.
Right.
So we love the over.
I just think removing all of that dysfunction from this season with all of the progress they made, and they've basically kept the same core of guys, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's not like this is one of the rare contenders that's actually brought back the intact team a la the Spurs, which I kind of like. I think they're going to be really good. I'm making this a lock too. I think
I was just
Golden State and Dallas are locks.
Put it in red right now. It's a lock.
Houston 49.5. I hate this one because if you told me Harden and Howard are going to play 150 to 160 games combined, I'd probably lean toward the over. But if one of those guys gets hurt, this team's in trouble. What do you think?
Yeah, so you have to accept that what they lost in terms of both frontline talent and depth only translates to 4 regular season losses. They won 54 last year, and to take the over, you have to be prepared to take 50. And, the thing that I'm concerned with is the depth issue with Lynn and Ashik off that bench, plus losing Parsons. The replacement's Trevor Ariza, but it's not necessarily the motivated Trevor Ariza.
No, it's not contract year Trevor Ariza.
It's an open question. We'll put it that way. We've seen motivated Trevor Ariza. Yeah. He was awesome last year for the Washingtons. I loved him. He single-handedly won one of those Bulls games.
Well,
But
he's also in the best possible situation for him. He's in a contract year. He's playing with a point guard. And Bradley Beal to some extent, too. Guys who could slash and kick and get him open threes.
Yep.
Harden's going to have to do that for him. Other than that, there's not another player on this roster that can get him open threes.
And I just look at the roster at the depth, behind every starter here, and I don't like any of the answers.
Well, and here's another thing.
There are a lot of names I see that I like.
They were first rounded out last year. They lost their third, fourth, and fifth best players from that team. They replaced those three guys with Trevor Ariza, basically.
Patrick Beverly's better than Lynn, but I hear what you're saying. He's a better defender. That guy can actually play crunch time defense.
All right, anyway. So let's say
we'll quibble.
Can we give him a tie? Third, fourth, and 5B.
Sure.
Plus, let's see Patrick Beverly stay in the court for more than 30 games.
So I thought
Lynn was good for them in a weird way. I thought he attacked the rim and he kind of played into the other strengths they had. I know why they had to do it, but man, it would have been nice to keep him.
Yeah, I'm not knocking Lynn. I liked him quite a bit and totally agree with the idea of him being a right guy framework-wise for what they were trying to accomplish.
No backup center either.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at the backups on this team. Jason Terry at shooting guard, Francisco Garcia at small forward, power forward. I guess it's Moshe Yunish.
Right.
How do you say that?
Monty Eunice.
Or
as he's called in Houston, Demo.
See, should have known. Demo. And then Joey Dorsey is the backup at center.
Ugh. And we didn't even mention Mikhail's coaching. I'm going under.
I'm going under also.
I don't like. I'm worried about this season for my friend Daryl.
The only thing is, he's enormously resourceful, constantly looking for opportunities.
Yeah.
The thing that would take the over, put the over into play for them is, you believe that he has a deal because he's always got a deal somewhere. He's always got a deal cooking.
See, I'm going the other way. I think the way they hit the over is Dwight Howard has an MVP season. Maybe doesn't win the MVP, but goes back to being 2009 Dwight Howard. And there's a possibility. Yeah. Everybody's talking about how great he looks. He's finally healthy, all this stuff. But I also know it's year, I think, 11 or 12 for him. And
yeah.
But yeah, who knows? Dwight Howard might be awesome this season, and then that changes the equation. I'm leaning toward under. I don't feel good about it.
We're sticking with the under.
Lakers, 30.5.
Well, let's do Clippers first, alphabetically.
No, I'm saving the Clippers and OKC for the end.
Oh, I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. Okay, Lakers 30.5.
I threw a curveball at you. What do you want?
You did. I can roll with it. Lakers 30.5.
Lakers 30.5, which is the number of points they're going to give up each quarter, coincidentally, 30.5. They're going to give up 122 points a game. This is the worst defensive team. Maybe since what was that year when Paul Westhead was threw that Denver Nuggets team together that was intentionally not playing defense?
Oh, yeah, right.
I think we're here with this Laker team. Oof.
It's going to be exciting basketball to watch.
Yeah.
Because other teams, the scorers on those teams, their eyes are going to be that's really the only hope that the Lakers have is that the teams come in so hungry to feast on their defensive carcass that they shoot themselves in the foot. They're self-defeating. There's the teams can't deliver what they're excited about doing.
Jalen always talks about drafted by the wrong team.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for Julius Randle on this team. He's going to spend a lot of time holding his left hand up, saying he's open and not getting the ball. It's his destiny. But the wrinkle with this team, and the reason I like under more than anything else, is if they're not in the top 5 in the lottery, Phoenix gets their first round pick.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
So there's going to come a point where they just have to just throw this season away once they realize they're not a playoff team. And whether Kobe likes that or not, hey, Kobe, you took $23 million from us this year, so shut up and cash the checks, and we're going to win 20 games.
Well, honestly, I don't think they're going to have a hard conversation with Kobe. I think, last year his body answered all of that.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a repeat of that. I'm disappointed because I love watching Kobe play, but he can't go out and he's not going to play 82 games this season.
And we didn't mention H. Bob's nemesis, Byron Scott.
Byron Scott is a magician. I mean, it all adds to this potent brew for the Lakers of colossal suckiness.
Yeah.
I mean, he's exactly the right guy to run this ship.
Very well liked, very well respected in the former player media community. His work for ESPN has met a lot of people, done a lot of things, and is one of those people that everyone treats with kid gloves. This is his fourth job. He actually came out in public and talked about how threes are overrated, and it doesn't. If you build your team around threes, you're not making the playoffs, and stuff that made it seem like, as we talked about last week in the Zach H. Bob podcast, made him sound like unfrozen caveman coach. Like he had been thawed out of some ice from 1982. 3-pointers.
Yeah, and your boy Jason Concepcion did a piece on it, the Grantland.com website, and it was very enjoyable. And that's what I mean. I just think it's terrific. He's a contrarian, not going for all of this whiz bang gadgetry.
Yeah, the
awesome.
League's all about long twos. Long twos are the undervalued thing right now. That team's going to be awful. And
great.
And I look forward to watching them be awful because I am not a Laker fan. But
sure.
I would like to see Kobe's career end with a certain level of dignity, and I'm not sure that dignity is a 25-win team. So they got to figure that part out. Memphis, 48.5.
So
What'd they win last year, Joe House?
Huh?
What'd they win last year?
50.
So they have to be 2 games worse than that.
And that was with does Mark Pastel have a nickname?
Gasman?
Yeah. Is that really his nickname?
How about Mark?
It's not very strong.
You know what? He does have a nickname. What am I saying? They call him Big Spain.
Oh, they're great. Good. So they're running it back, right? This is they made 2 noteworthy additions, Vince Carter and Courtney Lee. They lost Mike Miller and Ed Davis, and I guess you could say that James Johnson not returning is a loss. But it feels like, they know who they are. They know what they do. There isn't anybody in the entire Western Conference that they cannot beat.
Yeah.
And they just want to, the grit and grind, get themselves to the postseason, try and be healthy, try and keep Zach Randolph from punching a rookie, and see how far they can go.
Well, a couple things. Gasol wasn't healthy last year. He's healthy this year and in a contract year. Everybody's raving about how good he looks. And then I really like the Vince Carter signing. Vince Carter's, has reinvented himself, unlike just about anyone we've ever seen in NBA history, as just a really effective role player.
He's going to make the Hall of Fame.
He's going to make the Hall of Fame. They needed somebody like him on their roster, somebody who could play 25 minutes a game, kind of carry the offense a little bit if the big guys were out, and make some threes and play crunch time and just be a vet. I think he's a nice fit. I like that signing. I was surprised he signed there. And it's a 50-win team to me. I
agree.
I think Memphis and Golden State are 2 teams. Actually, Memphis, Golden State, and Dallas. We talked about all 3 of those teams. If any of those teams made the finals, I put it this way, I wouldn't be picking my jaw off the ground. I'm
right there with you. Feel the exact same way.
All right, really interesting one here. New Orleans, 43.5. I'm conflicted about this in a lot of different ways.
So you skipped Minnesota.
I did?
Another curveball?
Oh, I didn't mean to skip. No, that was not a curveball. That was just complete apathy. What's their over under?
27.5.
Oh God.
It's such a curious thing with them. They're right in between. They have exactly the right. They have two different rosters. They have a rebuilding roster and they have a 8-seed playoff roster on the same team.
Yeah, it's funny. Their fans. Some of them are upset at the Bill and Jalen preview. I said how I didn't like the Thad Young trade, which I still don't. And then later, Jalen said, they this team, you build a young team, you got to have veterans there. So these Minnesota fans email. And they're like, what do you mean? We do have veterans. We have Kevin Martin, we have Mo Williams, and we have Thaddeus Young. And it's like, are you serious? Those are your veteran leadership guys? Mo Williams, you're throwing veteran leader at me? And then Kevin Martin, all that guy's done his entire career is lose. That guy's been on more lottery teams than anyone probably in the NBA. So what's he bringing to the table? His lottery experience? No offense, Kevin Martin, but
I'm not
he played
defending
4
Kevin
playoff
Martin, but
games.
he had a good run with Houston and with OKC.
All right, I'm going to look up Kevin Martin, see how many career playoff games he's played in. This is going to be really exciting.
I bet it's in the – I don't know what I'm going to bet.
It's under 10 is what it is. And
is that true?
The answer is?
I think it's over 10.
The answer is?
I think it's like 20.
Oh, I forgot. OKC made second round that year. All right, so he played 6 games in 2006 for the Kings.
Uh-huh.
Played 11 games in OKC.
Yeah.
2013, where he shot a scathing 38%. He's played 620 regular season games and 17 playoff games. So good luck with that as your veteran experience. Thad Young, sure, I guess. Like Doug Collins liked him, I know. Played in some playoff games in Philly that one year. But ultimately is a guy who was the veteran leader on last year's Sixers team. That was a train wreck. And he's also only 26. You
beat me to it. He's surprisingly young for a name that feels like it's been around the league for 6 or 8 or 10 years, and it hasn't been that long. It just feels that way. He's young.
This roster is a great example to me of something I hate about the NBA right now, is that these GMs and these owners, they're just like collecting assets and just throwing uniforms on them. There's no rhyme or reason to this Timberwolves team. And I get it. Like they had to get something for Kevin Love, but they just have a bunch of guys who play the same position, right? They have 17 wing guys. They can't play Pekovic and Jurgi Dang at the same time. I don't know what this team is.
They have options, but the problem is that the guy guiding the ship is not somebody that you or I have a lot of confidence in.
Which guy, Flip or Ricky?
I'm Flip for sure, Flip.
I will say this about Flip. He did win like 63 games one year in Detroit, or 65 or something. I think if you win over 60 as an NBA coach, you can't be terrible unless you're Mike Brown.
His experience here in Washington, I think he's a legit coach. I don't have a problem with his coaching.
He's not a disaster.
It's simultaneous coaching and GMing that's
terrible.
Question mark for me.
Well, I just think that this team's all over the map. Like you want to play the young guys. Rubio's in a contract year. I don't know what you do with Pekovic, and it's just defensively they're going to be awful.
It feels like they should be involved in basically every trade discussion that occurs this season.
Yeah, and I think Jalen, I made that point. This team is 3 trades away from being whatever they're going to be. Really tough conference. With all of this said, by the way, I'm going to really enjoy watching them on League Pass this year. They're a mess, but it's a hot mess. They're like the Kathy Lee and Huda show, whatever that show is, when they're drinking on the 10 o'clock Today show. They're a hot mess.
I don't know that show.
Yeah, they have this whole Minnesota season has a couple drinks in it.
It sure does.
I'll watch a lot of them.
Shabazz Muhammad's still involved.
Shabazz is allegedly in shape, and for the first time in his life. And I'm not giving up on Anthony Bennett. I think that guy's talented.
So it's how do you get minutes to all those guys? The 27 and a half, what do you like?
Under.
Yeah, so they were 40 last year, and that means that they're 13 games worse now, having lost K-Love.
Well, and
I'm not going to argue with you.
At some point, you have to just start ruining your own season for the lottery pick. We see teams do it all the time. I'm excited to watch it.
And now would be the time, right? The most they can maximize flipping these assets into something right now.
At gunpoint, Andrew Wiggins, Hall of Famer, multi-All-Star, one-time All-Star, solid above-average starter, generic starter like a Marvin Williams type, semi-bust, or bust that we'll be making fun of for the rest of our lives.
By multi-All-Star, that means 2?
Now, I would say like 3 or 4.
Then I think that's where he's going to end up. I think he's going to be an all-star a few times.
Oh, okay.
Not a Hall of Famer.
I think he's going to be an above-average starter, a possible slam dunk champ, and might make one all-star team.
I mean,
that's where I land.
It depends. It's all situational, right? I mean, he's not going to get credit for his defense, which is going to be exquisite.
Be great.
I expect.
Be great. I'm excited
that's
for
not
that.
going to translate into all-star appearances.
I'm excited for his defense. I'm excited to watch him. By the way, I hope he's awesome. I would love to see him be great, but I'm skeptical. New Orleans 43.5. Speaking of great, they have one of the best players in the league, Anthony Davis, and now he has Omer Sheik next to him and Ryan Anderson back. And that was a team that won like 37 games last year anyway.
No, they won 34 last year.
34. They threw away the last couple, I think.
Well, they were the injuries that they suffered were seismic.
They got annihilated by injuries.
They got annihilated by injuries. So part of the wager here is you think that they're going to have above average health, or maybe just average health, because they had below average health last year.
I think this is this year's Phoenix. I've looked at it from every angle. I think it doesn't mean they'll make the playoffs, but what?
I like the over. Go ahead.
I like the over too, 43.5. I just think Davis is really good. It's year 3 for him.
Yeah.
Ashik's going to really help them defensively. Ryan Anderson is excellent. He's like 18 points a game and 4 threes a game.
I agree.
Drew Holiday's back. Everyone's talking about a career Tyreek year. I don't know if they make the playoffs, but I think they're to play. And I agree. And I would not look forward to playing them.
The thing that's still a question is Monty Williams, at least a question to me.
Oh, a giant question for me. Giant pulsating question.
But this is by far the best team that he will have ever coached, right? Not even close. And really, I'm taking the over because this is an Anthony Davis double thumbs up. I love AD. What's Anthony Davis's nickname?
The Brow.
The Brow, right. This is all in on the Brow. This over for me.
I like him and Ashik together.
Me
I think
too.
That's a nice pairing. I really like those two. I think defensively they're going to be above average at worst. Just from those two. Doesn't even matter what the rest of the guys do. You have those guys. Now you're protecting the rim, and I love Anthony Davis. Me
too.
It's just hard for me to believe that he's going to have 3 straight losing seasons to start his career. Somebody that good. Like, you remember Durant, I think it was year 3. They jumped to 50-plus wins that third year, right?
Yep.
Harden's rookie year. And at some point, if you're one of the best 7, 8 players in the league and you have good enough teammates and you can play both ends, you're going to be on the playoffs or close. So I think they're going to be in the mid to high 40s.
So they're at that, 44 is a good number, and we like the over.
Yeah, that team's going 44 and 38 unless Anthony Davis is getting hurt.
Yeah, that's it.
Possible lock. Phoenix, 44. I don't like the looks of this team at all.
I think the Channing Frye thing, letting him go, will prove to be an enormous undoing. Zach Lowe last season did a really interesting, intriguing deep dive into the success of the Phoenix Suns. And the one thing that leapt off the page at me was how crucial Channing Frye was to that success, and what a unique, perhaps like most unique in the whole NBA skill set that he possessed that made him the perfect complement for the 2-point guard system that Phoenix was running. I didn't think for one second that he was expendable. Their talent wholly hinged on his inside-outside flexibility and the way that they ran the pick and pop with him. And I don't think that they have a replacement for him. I don't think either one of the Morrises is going to be a replacement for him. I don't think Tolliver is a replacement for that. I don't think P.J. Tucker is going to be able to do that. So I think they are going in the wrong direction this year.
I've always enjoyed Tolliver, but that's irrelevant. It just felt like a lot of things went right for them last year. And they won 48, and it was just like, I watched a lot of those games. Like, it never felt like a 48-win team to me. I enjoyed the hell out of that season, but it was hard. Found it hard to believe they were 48-34 at the end of it, especially when they missed all those Bledsoe games. So the case would be, well, Bledsoe's healthy this year, and now they have a real backup. They have a guy that they never miss a beat now with Isaiah Thomas. No matter, they're always going to have two explosive scoring guards. I don't see how Isaiah Thomas is going to be happy on this team. It's a huge red flag for me. That guy was running his own team last year as a 20-point-a-game scorer, and now you're asking him to basically be the Nick Van Exel, come off the bench Dallas Mavericks guy, which I'm excited to watch, and I can't wait to watch, and I can't wait to watch the Suns team. But I think you're asking a lot from Thomas at this point of his career to delegate that much and just be like, all right, I'll come in for 25 minutes a game and I'll get hot. And the guy's like he was in college 3 years ago. I don't see it.
I agree. It's a tough fit. I don't for 1 second criticize them for that insurance. It was an insurance move. It was a great insurance move. They got him at a great price. But they ended up having to re-sign Bledsoe, and they let Channing Frye go in the process. I like the under for this team.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go below 500, but 45-37 seems ambitious. And though I could see them between 40 and 44. By the way, I was dead wrong on this team last year, so it's probably a good sign for the Suns that I'm down on them again.
Dead wrong.
I just think the West got a little bit better, and they got a little bit worse. They're going to miss Channing Frye. I totally agree. It scares me a little that they paid the Morris twins. I was like the guys playing for a new contract. And, year two, it's always like big first years, take a step back, then big push year three. I'm excited to watch them, though. I can't believe they're going to play Thomas, Dragic, and Bledsoe all together at the same time. That's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to watch that. So I have New Orleans and Phoenix basically switching spots as the teams that are on the cusp of cracking into the top 9 but can't get there.
Yeah, I like that. I don't have any reason to argue with you.
Sacramento 30.5. What do you think?
You skip. Oh, no, you're skipping around. You missed Portland.
I saved. Oh, I did miss Portland. Okay. Portland, 50. Ooh.
I think that's exactly where they should be. I think it's a perfect number for them.
It's great. I'm going to go under.
I'm going over. You go under every year on Portland on principle, it feels like now. When's the last time you think you went over on Portland?
First of all,
I bet if we went back 6 or 7 years, you haven't gone over on Portland once.
First of all, that's the biggest mistake you've made on this podcast in either part. We argued about Portland last year, and I picked them to make the playoffs and made them my lock to go over. I love the Portland team last year. You forget. You just blocked it out of your mind because I kicked your Portland ass. Remember?
Wait a second.
I love Portland. Remember, I had a whole thing. Oh, they got a bench. I like there's Robin Lopez. I was all in on that Portland
like
team.
I didn't like them. I liked them as well. We both took them as an over last year. We didn't disagree about Portland. We didn't make them a lock, but we didn't disagree.
I had a bet with Jalen on the Lobster.
Oh.
That they'd make the playoffs, and I was in on Portland last year. I just think 50 is a little high. I don't think they got any better. All they did was add Chris Kaman.
Yeah, they won 54 games last year. Why are they going to be 5 games worse? Kevin Durant's foot is broken. How's the West better?
Okay, we'll disagree. The one thing that would really – I'm going under. I think they're in the high 40s. The one thing that would really help them – also, by the way, I think the second half of the season they were like 23-21, something like that.
Okay.
Like that was a pretty big track record of playing just about average. They had a hot start, stumbled to the finish, miracle win in the Rocket series. Then they got annihilated.
You call it whatever you want. They won a playoff series.
Yeah.
Aldridge stepped up. They won 54 games. I believe in Portland.
Okay. Hey, the thing that could change their destiny this year is if C.J. McCollum's good, and I hope he is because I like him. But because
he's going to get all the run. Who left? Oh, Mo Williams.
He could be a really good third guard on paper,
Yeah.
All right, Sacramento 30.5.
So I have an annual tradition of going over on Sacramento because every single year I look at the young guys. It was Tyreek and Boogie. Now it's a mature Boogie with Rudy Gay, McLemore.
Can I just say something?
Go ahead.
I love Boogie. Nobody rides the cult of Boogie more than me. Had him on the podcast, root for him, love him. It's a little too early to call him mature. I think everybody needs to settle down on that storyline. Because the first time he flips out in a game, which will probably happen the first 15, all of a sudden he's not going to seem very mature.
So they won 28 last year.
Yep.
The question is, can they win 3 more? And I'm saying yes. I will say I intensely dislike Darren Collison for Isaiah Thomas. Intensely dislike that.
Unless you had a major, major, major personality problem on the team, which is my interpretation of everything that was handled in that regard last season.
The reason I like the over for this team is that this team has a crazy owner who is willing to do anything to improve his team.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody that's going to take a mighty run at a player like a Rajon Rondo, if he comes available, or any of the Indiana guys, if they come available, it is Vivek.
Stauskas?
He's going to go straight for him.
Stauskas?
What about him?
He was in the draft room. He was going around the room making sure everybody agreed with his opinion that they should take Stauskas.
That's right. I forgot.
They should have taken Alfred Payton and then just signed shooters in free agency. They went the other way. I'm not a Darren Collison fan. And it should mean something that guy's been, I think this is his 5th team. New Orleans, Houston, Clippers. There was another Pacers. This is 5th team. It's like 25, 26. Why do people keep passing him around?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm also going over. I think they're in the 32 to 34 range.
Nice.
And the same reasons as you. I think they have a trade to make, and I think that owner wants to be good and is going to be pushing them. And I actually think Stauskas is really going to help them. I would rather take a paid for it. Me too. I think he's going to make a lot of threes and spread the floor for them. And their best lineup is going to be when he's out there, probably with Raymond Sessions. All right, Utah 27.5.
You skipped the Spurs.
No, I saved the big 3 for last.
Oh, okay. I didn't. That's the curveball. Got it. Utah 27.5.
Yeah.
I liked it better when Utah was like didn't they open in the 24-25 range? And
they got people like him.
Getting excited about them.
Yeah.
So I liked them better when they were at 25. I love the over when they were at 25 because they won 25 last year. And I think that Quinn Snyder is going to be a tremendous upgrade at coach. And I like very much what his bona fides look like, his bona fides. I love him coming with an Atlanta kind of mind frame. You know, he ran the D-League team in San Antonio. I think these guys are going to play up-tempo. They're going to be launching threes. If Trey Burke can stay healthy, I think that he and Hayward are going to be a dynamic combination. And there's a lot of talent on this team and young talent. It just feels like 28 might be a hair too many wins.
You're going under. Okay. I'm going over. I've after watching them play and what am I doing? I'm going to go under.
I was about to let you talk me into the over.
I think they're going to be fun to watch. And I'm going to do over.
Do you think Exum's going to get any run this year?
I do. I think he's going to have a Kobe-esque Kobe as a rookie type of first year where he'll play 15, 16 minutes a game and occasionally look really good and do enough that'll get us excited. I watched enough in the preseason to feel like that guy, that there might be real potential there, which is why
I'm
I've
going to
already
take
done
the
a
over
180.
too because I don't want to root for the under on this team.
Okay, good. Let's both take
I feel
the
like
over.
I'm going to enjoy rooting for them.
The
So
thing
let's
is,
take the over. If we're wrong, we're wrong. I don't care.
the thing is, they're going to be one of the 6 or 7 worst teams anyway. But I think Hayward's a pro. They have multiple forwards. They have the backcourt might be pretty good if Trey Burke's good.
Yeah.
Exum off the bench is fun. It's Rudy Gobert.
I know.
That guy might actually be, a real asset this year. I like this Jazz team. They're gonna be fun to watch.
We're doing the over for the fun factor.
Clippers 56.5.
Just right away over, please.
Okay.
I mean, they won 57 last year. Why can't they win the exact same number again this year?
Great point.
Oh,
And
do you have they lost Jared Dudley.
Home games, the atmosphere is going to be really good. Blake's going to be an MVP candidate again. Chris Paul a little motivated after last year's playoffs. Spencer Hawes is going to help, gives them different looks. High 50s seems very realistic.
The only thing about this team that gives me any pause whatsoever is wing defense. They really ask a lot of Matt Barnes.
I was going to say anyone who plays wing. I think they can address that, though. I think that's a very fixable position. And here's my prediction. I'm going on the record. I think this is where Ray Allen ends up.
Oh, wow.
And I think when that happens, they trade Jamal Crawford for a defender on the wing.
Wow.
They basically flip. Just prediction. This is a clairvoyant Bill. I'm not reporting this. Don't put it in a sports blog with Simmons says Clippers getting Ray Allen. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's a prediction. If I was running the Clippers, my end game would be to sign Ray Allen, to convince him to come to L.A., beautiful place, to put him in that Jamal Crawford role, and to trade Jamal Crawford for somebody who could play perimeter defense for me. Those would be my goals.
Who is that somebody? Who's out there that could play perimeter defense?
A lot of dudes out there. I don't know.
All right.
A lot of guys.
All right.
What about...
I like it a lot. I mean, Ray Allen makes all the sense in the world.
Jeff Green?
I don't like Jeff Green.
Three-teamer? No?
No.
I don't know. I'm just offering Jeff Green to everybody in the league.
Yes, you are.
I'm sure that guy's out there. I don't feel like going
anyway,
through the
sure. I love it. And it's a cool blueprint for how they might engineer themselves to get over the hump. I think the Spencer Hawes signing was just sensational. I think it really frees up both DeAndre and Blake. They just had such a dearth of depth. It's hard to believe that Chris Kaman wasn't the answer, but
Doug was a huge Spencer Hawes fan. He really liked him. He thought last year he could have swung the playoff race if he ended up on the right team.
Yeah,
he did not.
So I mean,
so here's the other case of the Clips. Oklahoma City's not getting the 1 seed now with Durant out for this many games. Right. They have a chance to get the 1 seed, the Clips, which would at least give them home court throughout the first 3 rounds, assuming they're not going to be able to pass Cleveland. Their only real competition for the 1 seed from what in my opinion, would be San Antonio and Golden State.
Sure.
Teams that could get to the high 50s because Oklahoma City's not going to be there. So Clips have a chance to really salt away the 1 seed if they go all in on the season, and I think they will.
Well, one thing, money's not going to be an obstacle to going all in. So if they see an opportunity to add a guy the way that you're talking about, they're going to go for it.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the over. I would call this a lock.
Okay. OKC 53.5.
So pour a little out for the OKC.
Under. I'm going under.
They won 59 last year.
Yeah.
I don't think that a team depending on Andre Roberson and Anthony Morrow to play second banana to Russell Westbrook offensively, is going to put a lot of fear into the Western Conference opponents that they will confront this year.
And here's the other thing. We have no idea how long Durant's going to be out, but I know this much. It's a long and checkered history of people who have rushed back from a broken foot. And if they rush him back, they're idiots. Like, just flat out, you are idiots.
He's at the point in his career where he ought to be, and every indication from KD throughout his whole career is that he gets good advice, that he takes that good advice, that he has a good, sound framework for executing good judgment.
Right.
If he's not ready, he's not coming back. So if
your
that
body
foot
can
isn't all
lie
the way
to you,
better
though.
by February, he's not coming back.
Well, no, he'll be back before, like, February. I think.
No, I'm saying, if it comes to be February, he doesn't feel all the way comfortable, then he'll come back in March. And if he's not,
I think it's a really thing to do to athletes to say, here's the time frame for the injury where they're going to return from a broken bone. Like, don't say 6 to 8 weeks cannot be the narrative coming out of that. That's your best case scenario, that he comes back in 6 to 8 weeks. The reality is everybody's bone heals differently. And like Doug Collins had that exact same injury. I talked to Doug for a while on the phone last week. He had that same injury in Philly, rushed back, made it worse, and then ended up missing the whole season. And there's a bunch of guys that's happened to. You don't mess around with this injury. And
look, we have a blueprint, a template for not rushing back. Derrick Rose did not rush back, 2 seasons ago.
Right.
Took a whole season off.
And I think he has a screw in the foot, right?
I think he
does. They put a screw in this foot for that injury? Regardless, I think anyone who thinks he's coming back, like, oh, he'll be back around Thanksgiving or he'll be back mid-December, like, all right, we'll see. Because there's a chance he's not coming back till mid-January. You just don't know. And that over-under is way too high.
And that's why we like the under.
We like the under. And I think if he misses 2 months, 50 wins will be impressive for them.
I feel the same way. They'll play great defense.
San Antonio, 57.5, the defending champs.
So this is another one where I don't feel like I've taken an under for San Antonio in however long we've been doing this.
You trust the infrastructure.
I'm not about to start. I like the over.
I'm giving them the courtesy and the respect that they deserve, and also taking the over.
Yes. They have 100% continuity.
Yeah.
Huh?
58-24. Here's the other thing. Even though all signs point to at some point Duncan starts really going off a cliff, and same for Ginobili, all that stuff, but I think Popovich has figured out the regular season. He's figured out how to use his – well, no, I'm just like – he's figured out how to rest guys, how to use his bench, how to put his bench guys in the position to be like, hey, you're playing 38 minutes tonight. Great. I'm going to do awesome.
I have 2 stats for you that revolve around the number 30.
Yeah.
The Spurs trotted out no less than 30 unique starting lineups last season.
Yeah.
And no one on the Spurs last season averaged over 30 minutes a game.
He put on a clinic for how to handle the regular season with and how to use your roster. It's almost like how the Royals use their roster in the playoffs, Everybody on that team feels like they're part of what's going on. So if you're saying they're going to go under, you're saying they're going to lose 25 times. This is a team that can withstand an injury to anybody in their roster and cannot and won't get sidetracked. I mean, maybe it'll hurt them a little, but they won't get sidetracked, So, and also, there's Kawhi major breakout potential too, I think.
Sure, of course.
It's in there. It's lurking.
Of course.
He might just become a 20 and 9 guy this year. Just be lights out. So, over.
Over.
Okay.
The courtesy over.
So our locks are going to be Dallas over 50.5, Golden State 51.5. Do we want to make New Orleans a lock at 43.5 or no?
No.
Okay.
Monty Williams gets in the way of that lock.
Okay. Sorry, New Orleans.
Let's do one more lock so that we have an odd number of locks.
Okay.
Should we do OKC under as a lock? Or is that disrespectful?
Yeah, the thing is, I don't want to root against OKC.
Okay, what about the Lakers under?
Oh, now you're talking my language.
We're both in agreement on that under.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, those are our three locks.
I want OKC. I want Durant to come back, and I want OKC to be awesome. And I want to watch them in the playoffs, fight people off. And I hope they make a trade, and I hope they do right by Durant and Westbrook this season because I love watching those guys.
Okay,
all right, here we go.
Yeah, totally agree.
Mavs 50.5. We both went over. Also made that a lock.
Yes.
Nuggets 42.5. Under and under. Golden State 51.5. Over lock. Houston 49.5. Under. LA Lakers 30.5. Under lock. Memphis 48.5. Over. Minnesota 27.5. Under. New Orleans, we agreed on everything here. New Orleans 43.5. Over. Phoenix 44. Under. Portland, always divisive in our relationship. 50. I went under, you went over.
Yeah.
Sacramento 30.5. Over.
I usually be able to count on you to take the under on Sacramento.
Sacramento and Utah 27.5. We went over for both of those. Clippers 56.5. Over. OKC 53.5. Under. Spurs 57.5. Over. Now I'm looking at this. It seems like we have too many overs.
We always have too many overs.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Not that many. Okay. You went 9 overs. I went 8. I went 8 unders. I went 8.
That's reasonable.
So I have under for OKC, Portland, Phoenix, Minnesota, Lakers, Houston, Nugs. Okay. That's fine. I'm happy with that. All right. So our locks are going to be Detroit 36. Indiana under 33.5. Mavs 50.5. Golden State 51.5. Over. And then Lakers under 30.5. So we have 5 over-unders. And then for disagreements, we had a bunch of them. Hawks, I had over, you had under. Bulls, I had under, you had over. Cleveland, I had over, you had under. Toronto,
I'm going to regret Cleveland. I know it already.
Washington, we disagreed on Toronto. Washington, that's going to be a polarizing one for us. And then Portland, over. Wow, we agreed on the entire West except for Portland.
I'm not that surprised. The West is kind of set up a certain way, which everybody should be worried. I hope nobody rushes right out and tries to make any of these wagers, because if we both agree that way, that sets up for bad things.
I know the number one BS Report fan, Peter Benedict, loves our over-unders and then goes and wagers on them somehow.
For them or against them?
No, he wagers with us. He rides with Simmons and House.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, Cavs plus 280 to win the title? I'll tell you what I like. I think Dallas 25-1, Golden State 28-1, and Memphis 50-1 are really solid long shot bets. Those odds are too high. Not saying they're going to win the title. I just think those odds are too high.
They're fun wagers. I especially like that Memphis one. Memphis has been built to get to the finals each of the past 3 years, and it just really requires the stars to align a little bit for them. You know, they've just been missing one little offensive kick or one, Zach Randolph not punching somebody to take that lead, to make the lead.
And then for MVP, I'm not allowed to bet on this because I have a vote. But
I'm allowed to bet on it.
Yeah, you are. Blake is 12-1. So the Clippers get a 1 seed, and LeBron, David Blatt really does the thing where he rests LeBron a lot. You have to start looking for alternatives. LeBron is basically even. LeBron should win the MVP every year, but if they're playing him 33 minutes a game, he's not going to.
Yep.
Blake's 12-1. Westbrook is down to 15-1. Astonishingly, he was 35-1 a week ago. He's down to 15-1 now. Steph Curry 30-1. Dwight Howard 30-1, and that's really it.
None of those.
Let's see anyone else winning the MVP. What?
You know what's curious to me is that if I was going to pick somebody on the Clippers, the guy I would pick is Chris Paul. I would do this throwback. He just, puts it in the Wayback Machine, puts the team on his shoulders. They rip off 62 games.
He's not going to be able to stay healthy enough to do that.
Okay. All right.
You win the MVP. You win the MVP, you bring it every night. He doesn't bring it every night. And I've been a season ticket holder for 11 years for them. And I went to games last year where he got his ass kicked.
Anthony Davis had odds?
18-1.
That's the one I would do.
You need him to be in the low 50s for wins.
We both took the over. So,
I'm just telling you what needs to happen.
That's a team that can make the leap, is kind of poised to make the leap. And if he rips off a bunch of, 30-20s, and he's capable of it, I like it.
Westbrook is interesting because let's say Durant misses 30 games, but Westbrook just puts that team on his back, and they're 20-10 in those 30 games. Then Durant comes back and whatever. And then you can make a real case for him. And Blake, the case would be just if they have the best record, a lot of times voters just gravitate to the best guy.
Yeah,
and I think he'd be there. Dwight, if the Rockets went 54-28, something like that, Dwight put up the 22 and 16 with 3 blocks a game, like had an old school Dwight season, I think he'd be in the mix. We will see. It's quite a season. What's your title pick, by the way?
The Chicago Bulls.
Oh.
I am.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't look at them objectively after they hurt my feelings last year with how badly they came up short.
Well, he got hurt.
Who do you have Chicago Bulls playing in the finals?
The San Antonio Spurs.
Safe. I like it.
Yeah.
I have Clippers and the Cavs.
I love that too. It's very easy to talk me into that one.
My fear with the Spurs is that they had the perfect season last year. Everything went right.
I don't know.
They nailed
everything went right by engineering, by program, by plan.
No, I'm just saying, like, how it played out was just perfect. You can't have a better season than that. It's the greatest.
They
won
had
the
a lot
title.
of guys out with injuries, right? Ginobili was out with injury for
I'm not talking about injury. I'm just talking about they reinvented how teams think about the regular season with how they handle the minutes. They ripped through teams in the playoffs. They redeemed the worst sports loss really in the NBA since 1988, the Pistons. They redeemed that. And on top of it, murdered basketball in Miami. They murdered the Miami Heat. They actually like shot the Miami Heat and killed it.
Good riddance too, by the way.
Oh. Oh. Are they going to still do that now? Can you do that when you're 43 and 39?
Yeah, with Mario Chalmers throwing the ball out of bounds and trying to feed it to Chris Bosh, sure.
I'll defend the Miami fans in this respect. I did think there was definitely an atmosphere at those games. I enjoyed going to big Miami Heat playoff games. I liked that. It was just different. It was the white shirts and Pitbull and just there was the White Stripe song, and you did feel like there was real ownership. The problem for me is when they all split after game 4.
You didn't like that?
Nobody in that arena ever in a million years thought LeBron would leave. And that was his last home game. And by the time the game ended, there was 4 people in the building. And I thought that was terrible.
I don't have any basis for taking on a fan base, and I have no problems with Miami. But the stories about how many people were out of the arena the year before in Game 6.
It was incredible.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I find unforgivable.
That was incredible because, there were 2 threes. There were 2 threes down. Even if he makes both free throws, he ended up making one, so they're down 5 with 28 seconds left. But, that's doable. You can't leave yet at that point. That was
whether
horrible.
Whether it's doable or not, it's a basketball game. And there's only 20,000 people there. Like, what do you need to beat the crowd for? What are you doing? It's the finals. Like, why do you need to beat everybody out the door?
I don't know. I wish that had been LeBron's reason for leaving. Instead of writing the letter about his homecoming to Cleveland, he's just been like, I got to be honest, I've never forgiven the Miami fans for leaving with 28 seconds left. I had to get out of this place as soon as I could.
Who would have killed him?
LeBron.
Nobody could complain. It's going to be a great season.
I love watching that guy. How many great LeBron years do we have left?
I'm counting on 4.
4. Wow.
Well,
that'd be great. I'd love that.
MJ did it.
LeBron's at 40,000 minutes already.
Yeah. So that's the most important thing that he and David Blatt need to work out this season is getting LBJ his rest. And that's the only reason I took the under.
I'm looking at Jordan's career minutes. Because he had the broken foot season and then the 2 baseball seasons. Yeah, Jordan played 41,000 career minutes, and that includes the 5,100 he played in Washington. So he played. That's unbelievable. So Jordan, during the entire Bulls era, played 4,000 minutes less than LeBron has already played.
The thing that LeBron has going for him,
science,
is he's a giant. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
He's a giant man.
Giant man, right? Cool. So we have.
Yeah.
I'd still bet on LeBron for MVP. I mean, I think those long shot bets are great, but here's an idea: just bet on the guy who's won 4 MVPs and who's coming home and is going to be fired up every time he plays a home game. I think LeBron's going to shoot like 60% at home and average like a 39.9.
You think he's going to score that much?
I think he's going to go nuts. And he's going to go crazy in these home games. He's just going to go nuts.
I love the 60% shooting from the field at home. I think he's going to be a distributor. I think he's going to be this master out top, making sure that Kyrie is comfortable, making sure that Dion's comfortable, making sure that Caleb's comfortable.
I'm really excited for Kevin Love. I'm excited to watch him on a really good team, and I think people are going to feel dumb by late November that they ever didn't think LeBron and Love were going to be just all-time incredible together. I think they're going to be outstanding together.
Who doubts that? People doubt that?
It's
going to be extraordinary.
There seems like there's a weird Kevin Love kind of, Minnesota, he never made the playoffs, all that stuff. I don't think people realize how good he is.
I don't think that had anything to do with his skill set. It had everything to do with people's, dislike of his comportment, his demeanor, his leadership, his questionable leadership skill. All of those things are fine criticisms to levy. Really, to me, those are all criticisms that belong to the organization and not the player. But his skill set, who can argue? It's going to be extraordinary.
It's going to be extraordinary. I can't wait. Kyrie's the wild card. Who knows with him?
Well, I actually don't worry about Kyrie at all. I think Waiters is the wild card.
He's permanent wild card.
Yeah, permanent wild card.
I have a feeling LeBron and Waiters are going to click. I can't explain it. I'd like that combo for some reason. But we'll see.
He can put him under his wing. He can do the big brother thing to him.
It'd be funny if David Blatt was just horrible as a coach. Everyone's kind of penciling him as this good coach, but he's never coached an NBA game. And it'd be funny if he was just totally overmatched and terrible, and within 10 games, people were like, "Oh my God, David Blatt." I think he's going to be excellent, though.
He's going to be excellent. He's not going to be terrible. He's going to be
he won't.
Terrific.
He won't. I trust all of the interviews I've read from him.
Yeah.
Joe House, 2 parts, NBA over-unders. Another one is in the books. It was a pleasure.
We've done it.
We did it. House Seats 5 coming out soon in the Grantland channel. Hopefully we'll get to see you in LA. A pleasure. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. We need to find somebody to take us on. Partners, golf. Let's do it.
Yeah. We're ready. Best ball. Me and House versus you. Whoever that is. We'll play it. All right. Thanks, House.
Good times. Late.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.